Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Rune. So today we're going to be looking at the top 10 Jackal. That's right, the top 10 Jackal in Magic the Gathering. So let's begin with the top 10. And now at number 10. At number 10 we have Jackal Familiar from Magic 2010, and it's a common. And here it's at 10. Well, it's not exactly a traditional Jackal, it is a Jackal Familiar, which is really cool because it's a hound. And it looks totally like a Jackal, but in hound form. It says can't attack or block alone. Costs 1 mana for a 2/2, which can be very helpful because you bring that out first turn, and second turn you would bring out some kind of hasting creature that would be typically 2 for a 2/2 haste. Regardless, but either way, I think that's really cool. At number 10, it's basically 1 for a 2/2, and that's why it's there. So let's move on to number 9. And at number 9, we have Disposal Mummy from the Hour of Devastation series, and it is a common. I think this one is really cool, this zombie jackal. I just like the picture in and itself. Costs 3 mana for that 2/3, and when it enters the battlefield, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. Again, in the real Magic world, this card is not very good, but when it comes to jackals, well, it's at number 9. And removing a card, it could be very helpful with the new standard in Magic where graveyard retrieval is very common. So then, putting this out could be very helpful, but that's about it. So let's move on to number 8. And at number 8, we have Bitterblade Warrior from Amonkhet series, as well as found in the Mystery Booster series. And as you can see, it's a common. And it's here because it costs 2 for a 2/2, which is pretty standard and good. And it's a Jackal Warrior, so why not? And it says you may exert Bitterblade Warrior as it attacks. When you do, it gets +1/0 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. So the only reason why it's here, again, is because it's 2 for a 2/2, and it has that ability for Death Touch that can make basically very annoying to another opponent because it has Death Touch. Because it could be like a 2/3, 2/5, it could stop a 10/10, whatever, and it'll die. Typically. I really like the artwork for this card. I don't know, I find that most Jackal cards have really cool pictures in them. So let's move on to number 7. And at number 7 we have Dread Wanderer from the Amonkhet series as well, and it is a rare. Costs 1 for a 2/1, so alone, that in itself is pretty good. And when it enters the battlefield, it comes into tap. But you can pay 2 colors and a swamp. It says return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this ability only time you can cast as a sorcery, and only if you have 1 or fewer cards in your hand. So empty your hand, and he keeps coming back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Could be used as a sacrifice for ability, some kind of card, and it could be annoying just to stop creatures from constantly attacking you. You block, bring them back, block, bring them back. Again, if I said it before 100 million times, and I'll say it one more time, I love the artwork. Something about that picture makes it look so cool. And most cards are probably going to be from this series, so this is why it's here. So let's keep going and move on to number 6. And at number 6, we have Dread Horde Twins from War of the Sparks, and it's an uncommon. Costs 4 mana to bring it in, but I think it's really cool because it enters the battlefield amass 2. It's free creatures. Awesome, I love it. But again, those zombie tokens you control have trample as well. Again, you can use this card to a great advantage if you know how and built it around the Mass series. And the picture is a blue Jackal this time, so that's really cool. So let's move on to number 5. So halfway down our list, we have Earthshaker Kenra from Hour of Devastation, and as you can see, it is a rare, and it's really cool. It costs, again, 2 mana for a 2/1, which we keep seeing. And I also keep seeing really cool pictures, but it has haste, so alone that itself is pretty good. And when it enters the battlefield, target creature with power less or equal to Earthshaker can block this turn. Perfect, because again, second turn, typically you would have a 2/2 out or something. So again, this guy might be basically unblockable at the time. It also has exile this card from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie Jackal Warrior with no mana cost. Eternalize only as a sorcery. So that's really cool. Costs 6 mana for that 4/4 later. So it's basically you can get 2 creatures out of this if it's still in your graveyard. Again, really cool. So let's move on to number 4. At number 4, we have Champion of Rawness, as well as this from the series Amonkhet as well, and it's a rare. Costs 4 mana for that 3/3 because it has when you may exert Champion as it attacks. When you do, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Perfect. right there alone. This card is only good, and it's here at number 4 because of that alone ability. It's a rare, it's not even a legendary, so that's really cool. You can have that with multiple out, but again, it'll empty your hand pretty fast. So let's move on to number 3. At number 3, we have Nimble Blade Kenra from Amoket, and it's a common. Costs 2 for this 1/3, but it has prowess, which is really cool in a red deck. This is why it's at number 3, because this can give it an ability, pump, 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 like just play shock 3 times, and there you go. Prowess says whenever you cast an non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Makes perfect sense for this type of creature. And it says, in the hour of glory, the gods and the untested will prove their worth before the god Pharaoh. Really cool saying. 1/3, and it is a common. It's number 3, and it's a common. So let's move on to number 2. So at number 2, we have Kenra Eternal from Hour of Devastation, and it's common. And just like its predecessor of the red, this one is actually black. It says afflict 1. So whenever this creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 1 life. So again, that could be all the abilities, but we're talking about Jackal, so this is why it's at number 2. I think the afflict is actually a game changing. And again, let's do it. The picture is great. Look at that blue zombie Jackal warrior. So there's one card out of them all that's number 1. So let's move on to number 1. And at number 1, we have Wildfire Eternal from Hour of Devastation, and it's a rare. And I'm going to comment on the picture. It's a blue cleric, so it's a zombie Jackal cleric. Given that blue theme with the fire, and not only has afflict 1, it has afflict 4. So whenever this creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 4 life. So 4 mana, 1/4 for that ability. Great. Whenever it attacks or isn't blocked, you may cast an instant or sorcery card from your hand without paying its mana cost. Even better, that's even on top of that, and it's not even a legendary, it's a rare. So this ability alone, with everything added to it, makes this the number 1 Jackal of all the cards in Magic the World at this time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and there's more on the channel, so I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening.